Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vignette. Now, our topic today is how to shoot and edit a still life photo. All right, so I'm going to dive right in and let me just show you what we're going to be dealing with. So here I have a setup, and excuse me, on this setup, this is the before and after look of the edit. So here's before. Here's after. Look how it just looks a lot more rich. Now, I did use a continuous light off to the camera left. And so imagine me having the camera set up straight ahead, and over here, I had continuous light shining on the rows here. And then I had another light just filling in the back part. So you can see it right here. All right? So it was a real simple, straightforward setup. Now, I hand-held this. So by hand-holding it, I did use an ISO of 800, and the shutter speed is 1/1000th of a second. Now, if I would have brought that shutter speed down to 500th of a second, then 800 would have went to 400 ISO. If I brought it down to 250th of a second, that 400 would have went down to 200 ISO, all right? So by doing that, by doing it the way I did, I was able to handhold it. Really, a tripod or one of the planet pods with one of the ball heads like this would have been great on setting up on the table and snapping the shot, all right? But again, I didn't have that with me. So I opted for 1,000 just because I wanted to make sure I had enough, all right, enough of shutter so I wouldn't be shaking the camera, all right? And Gary, I'll go through the light that I actually used. All right, so let me start from the beginning. Click Edit, and I'm going to click on the History tool and just start right at the very, very beginning. Now, because it was handheld, notice it's not perfectly straight. So you have a choice, crop before or crop last, entirely up to you. It bothers me, so I'm going to get rid of it first. Now, I did try doing the auto line, but because you have the rows and the flame is what I'm looking at, it did its best to make the rows look nice and straight, but really, I shot it on an angle, so I want the flame to be straight. And I'm just using the lines to make it look good. And I'll just drag it into place. And there I have it. So I got rid of the one thing that was bothering me, and actually, I'm going to crop it just a little bit better. There we go. All right. So there's my crop. Now, what did I use on the bottom? Look at this reflection right down in here. If you see that reflection, all I did was I went to Home Depot, and for $24, they had plexiglass, 16 by 20 plexiglass. For $5, they had glass. So you guess which one I bought? I bought the $5 one, and underneath it, what I did was I took the black foam core. So I had two pieces of foam core taped together, and it's called a V-flap. And all I did was I slipped, in fact, let me put this up here. I just slipped this under the glass, put the black on top, and now the black here was my background. We'll do it like this. So this black was my background, and the glass was just sitting on a piece of black foam core. So now I have that reflection. After talking to a couple of our members on Luminar Insider, there's a product out there. Let me grab my notes real quick. That's called, and you can get it at Hobby Lobby. All right. I had it right here for you too. Hobby Lobby. It's called Chrome Sheet Black. All right. So Chrome Sheet Black is at Hobby Lobby. she says that it does the same effect that we just did here without the glass. So I thought that was incredible. All right. Now let me pull this up real quick. So a real quick question. So Gary's asking, do you always go faster than one focal length of hand holding? I mean, that's traditionally the rule. So in other words, let's say if I'm shooting 200 of my focal length is 200, you want to make sure you're shooting at least 1/200th of a second. I know with the Z camera, 1/1000th of a second was more than enough that I needed, so it wasn't that big of a deal. All right, so let me get back to here. This is all going to be straightforward because we got it right in camera. Watch how easy it is to do this edit, and we're going to stick primarily with the essential tools. First tool up, of course, Accent AI. Now I don't want to go too far because then you can see the background. So I want to bring it in right about to here, and look at the difference it made. Just that one tool. All right. Then we're going to come down to light, and this light is typically where you would process raw photos. Well, all I really care about right now is enriching the blacks. So look at that. I'm going to make the blacks in the image look a little more rich. And I like how that looks. I'm going to dial down some of the highlights. So look at the difference, especially in the candle. And we might as well bump up some of the spark contrast. All right, now, that's looking great. Look at this, before and after. Before, which I thought was a good shot, and now after. So, if I want to make this rose jump out even more, I originally jumped over here to the local masking and painted in the effect. The only downside with that is, on each of these images, if I wanted to apply that effect to all these images, I'd have to go back through and apply them manually. So let's try something a little bit different. So here, what I'm going to do is click on Edit. And we already did the light tool. Give it a second to refresh. So once it does this, here we go. I'm going to come down to Vignette. I want to select the rose as my main focus point. And there's a little known tool, a little known feature that people keep forgetting about. What I'm going to do is I want to go to an extreme first so I know exactly, where I'm dealing with the vignette. And I want it right about here. Inner light. This is one of those little tools or one of the little sliders that a lot of people are forgetting about. But look what that inner light just did for me. That inner light took over the fact that I'd have to hand mask it onto the rose itself. And then I'd use the feather to decide where I want that light, how I want it to gradually fall off. And of course, the roundness of it. Where do I want it to go? Right about here. All right. Now that I got that looking the way I like it, now let's apply the real settings to the vignette. And I want to dial back the size and the amount. Because I don't want it too much, but I still want to make sure that this side here, right here, is not as bright as that rose. So I want all the eyes going right to the rose itself. All right. So I'm going to dial it in just a little bit more. There we have it. So before, after. Now, what's this screaming for? Details. So I could use AI structure and beef this up here, or I could use details. Now with AI structure, I don't want everything to become in focus. So I'm going to reset this. What I want to do now is have a little more precision. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So here's the rose. Let me get myself out of there. Give it a second to refresh. Ooh, look at that. And that's water droplets, by the way. I sprayed it, and honestly, I think I sprayed it just a little too much. I want to use medium details, and then let's crank the small details up. There we go. 800 ISO isn't bad, but because we have shadows, look at some of the grain it added. So let's go to denoise and give it a generous amount. There we go. So it just got rid of the noise effect. Look at that, beautiful. And we have it set. So one last thing I do want to do is, I love right where it's at, but if I come down here to the bottom and super contrast, here's where I played around just a little bit with the highlights just to see if it will make a difference. The shadows, of course. And look at this. Look at the difference with the shadows. So I'm going to bring the shadows down a little bit less. Good, bring it out just a touch more. That's it. Now, at any point, if I feel like I'm not getting the results that I want, just turn it on and off and just reset it. In this case here, I actually liked it better the way I did it earlier. So I'm just going to reset the tools and just stick with what I did earlier. Let's give it a little time to regenerate or to refresh. All right. So to make it real simple, here we are. It's good. Here's where it's better. And there are different things we can do, which some of you have, which is really good. Pat and Jerry have some good questions in here on what we would do a little bit differently if we all sat around to the shoot together. All right. I'm going to come back up here with the comments. So from here, Pat said, I use a regular mirror, with black behind it. That's cool. So a mirror would be pretty cool to see what that looks like. Jerry says he wonders, just curious on what template would you use. That's entirely up to you. I knew that this image, honestly, coming out of the camera like this, I knew it only needed a few essential tools. Now, I did save this, by the way, as my own template. And it's right here, Flower Hill. All right. And it's slightly different from what I did with you a little bit earlier. So I did do that. Let's see. Okay. So for this photo, it's using AI technology. It's saying it would use a nature templates. I'm shocked it does. Oh, did. And it knows that it's macro photography. So let's check some of the macro. Here's macro vintage. Not bad, but not what we're going for. So this was such a specialty shoot. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, neutral macro is not too bad. And I'd probably go back in and just clean some of this stuff up here. But neutral macro did a pretty decent job. Let's see. I bet you, nope, it's not here. So let's see light. I bring the shadows down a little bit and enrich the blacks. So it's showing too much, in my opinion, the background here. There we go. So we'd have something like this. And again, I did mention to you earlier, you could come in here and, I went overboard now. And you could go to basic, crank up the either exposure or the shadows. All we care about is that flower. Maybe right about here. And then you would just paint that in here. And you see how it brought all the attention to that flower? Now, what did I do over here? I went overboard. Lights. Yeah, dial the black back just a little bit. But you get the idea. I like my own template that I did, but if you were if you wanted to, you could go in and try one of the templates here first. Again, I kind of liked what I did here. My template's flower. Good. Yes, Jerry, good job. Jerry says next time, maybe pop a little glass of wine into it. A little glow to the flame. Ooh, that'd be neat. Let me hit L for a minute. So what I ended up doing with this, the whole purpose of it was for one of my poems. My mother loved roses so much that my father planted a bunch of rose bushes in our backyard. And when I was a child, long story short, my mother did say, never give a flower or a rose out of intent. Don't give somebody something because you want to get something in return, because if you do, the rose will never bloom. So she had us believing our whole life that if we bought flowers for somebody because we wanted something in return, the flower would never bloom. So I put that in the poem, what she taught me. So the symbol of a rose is the name of the poem. I would probably, what I would, is I would have a good friend of mine who's a typographer. I'd have him jump in, or her, jump in and redo that like a card. So if I wanted that to be a greeting card, or, you know, like a nice, maybe a 5x7 type of a card we could pass out, I'd have her do something with the typography and just to make it look even better. All right? Glass of wine, that I thought was brilliant. That is something I would actually consider if I did a reshoot. I definitely think I would do a glass of wine. And let me see something here real quick. What I'm doing right now is I had the behind the scenes pictures for you. So my original coffee break, let's see, it's under Luminar Catalog. Right here. And we're looking for coffee. I'm sorry, move up a little bit. Yep, you know what? I apologize. Here's coffee break. Let's see if, nope, it's not in there. So I did have the original behind the scenes that I wanted to show you. Here we go. Let me see if it's in this one right here. We'll see if this loads up. Because we've been working a lot with the new version. This is an old catalog based on Luminar, not the updated version of it. So I'm not quite sure if I have it set to this one yet. So we'll see. Let's see. I want to go with flowers, maybe. Yep. So if I don't have it, I apologize. Oh, I just saw flowers somewhere. Garden flowers, maybe. And nope, wrong flowers. Yep, so I don't have them. Oh, maybe they're right here. And complete. Nope. So I apologize for that. I wish I had that. I wish I had that to give you guys the behind the scenes. But it was called a Loop View. Loop View was the name of the device. That was just absolutely stunning. And I also used a Loom Cube. So the two that I used was a Loop View and the Loom Cube, and we have it there. You know what I may do? Let me know in the comments below. Would you like a copy of that particular image to practice on? So do me a favor, leave either a comment here or a comment below. And if you want, I'll put the raw file in the description so you could download the raw file. And you could practice it on your own, and then let me know, like Robert was talking about, putting the glow on the flame. you know, and if you wanted to try, Gary was mentioning maybe use a different template, but I thought that would be neat. All right, so that's what I'll do. I'll put, I'll have Angela put a link to where you could download that raw file. So check for it in the next 20, 25 minutes. And if you don't see it, in fact, you know what? This will be so much easier. Why don't I do this? There we go. If in the next, if in the next 15 minutes, you don't see a link in the description that says download practice file here, shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get it. All right? And then do me a favor, if I send it to you or if you download it, I'd love to see what you guys have done with it, because it's always neat to see what other people do with some of the images. And I love that idea about the wine glass. The only issue I have with glasses, like wine glasses, it's like they're my nemesis. The angle of reflection. If you're not careful, the light just looks horrible in the wine glasses. So for me and wine glasses, I've had a battle for years. And so it's kind of a joke. Some of my interns and some of the assistants, they would actually put a wine glass as a joke in the scene as we lit something and said, hey, how about we add this in there? And when they see the dirty looks, they just start cracking up. But me and wine glasses, for whatever reason, we have this love-hate relationship. But I do like that idea about the wine glass. I think that would look good there, in there too. So, and if you have any other questions or other ideas for still life, please leave those in the comments. We'll check them out. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, it was great. If you have questions, please let us know. This was a great interactive one on this one here. All right. Well, I'll see you guys at the next coffee break.